So now we want to go to page 135, and that is chapter 8. And this chapter highlights the importance of giving our household a hand, grace for the leader's family. So I'm going to start out by saying that it's important that we minister to our families first. We have a responsibility to the church, but we also have a responsibility to our families. And we need to be authentic. The family needs to be able to say, the person is saved, the pastor is saved. What you see here in church and how kind he is, he's the same way or she's the same way at home. And I think that that's important. One of the demonstration was given as they dealt with a family. They would bring them up and they would ask a couple, we need you to do something. And of course, they gave them a rope. And they had some of the families, couples to cut the ends of the rope to say, hey, this represents the tension that's going on in my home. They had some to do pulling the rope, representing a tug of war that was going on. But then they said they were always blessed when they saw the rope being tied in a knot when it was a couple, because that was a confirmation that, as God says, when a couple marries, the two becomes one. And so we look at that in Genesis 2:24, and we can say, okay, that you have become one. So you need to work things out as a family. It's important for you to understand in ministry that your family needs you, your wife needs you. If you have children, the children need you. And so you really have to establish a balance so that you can do all of these things. On page 136, the ties that bind. So we want to take a look at the treasures of the family. If the first example here was given how Mary's experience was unique as she gave birth to Jesus and she watched him grow up. So how about us in ministry? As we have a spouse, we remember the first date that we went on, and we treasure those moments, the times that we work with our children and some of the memorable events that they had in church. We have to treasure those memories. And as we're in church and continue to grow on those. Understand on page 138, it addresses tears for the family. Sometimes we find ourselves as family going through some pretty heavy burdens. Don't let what happens in your family to destroy your ministry. Let those things get worked out. Talk about those things as God has given us to talk about those things. The Bible is realistic about the tears that leaders face sometime within their own home. And so you know that there may be family problems. This is just part of the journey. And so when you have those things, use those things to work things out, to become stronger in the Lord. So one of the things that will really help you with that is time. You have to deliberately set some time so that you can spend it with your family. So a wise friend once told the story that love is spelled T-I-M-E, time. So we want to make sure that time is precious. Many times as you let time go by, you can't go back and get that time. And we have to make the most of every opportunity, especially as we are in ministry, that we're doing those things that we need to do. We can stop for just a moment and ask, what I wish our lives could be. And we could wish that there's less pressure, that we had more things on the weekend to do, that we had more time, we could relax more evenings. But the key there is to take a look at how can you achieve some of the goals. If you say you need to spend more time, then what are some of the things that you need to do? You're going to need, as a family, to set up some times where you have your date night, where you have your special family night, where you can just get away for the weekend for a trip for fun, so that the family then can become stronger and the family can spend some time. So time management gives the household a hand. And although your time may be short, restricted, you want to make sure that you take the time out and plan so that your family, husband and wife, children can have time together. You have couples in ministry, and so it's going to be important that you recognize as you are in ministry that realities of your marriage is that you're going to go through different stages. Your marriage, if you're just getting married, you're on a honeymoon. Well, the honeymoon is going to end at some point, but that's okay. You can continue to grow. You can continue to love each other even more. You need to remember the vows that you made and keep that. There's pain sometime in a leader's marriage, but there are 4 problems that can occur. And I want to just talk a little bit about that. Priorities are always difficult, but the leader has to have a balance. And there must be a balance between the church work and what the family needs are so that they both can be met. And so when you're trying to meet the needs of the family, that does not mean that pastor is departing from ministry, but it means that he is seeking God first and trying to work out those things that needs to be worked out. The other thing, if you're not careful, that could creep in is anger, and you want to be real careful with that. That's another part of life, of marriage. And so you want to make sure that you keep that communication open. Don't spend too much time when you're trying to have fun and you're doing things. Don't spend too much time talking about some of the church challenges and issues and bring those into the time that you want to spend time separately. You may have to put those church issues aside so that you can have that nice evening and dinner at the restaurant. Just remember the scripture in Ephesians 4:26, and it says, "In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry." So we have to make sure that we don't allow anger to come in to disrupt what God is doing or disrupt your marriage. And then identity is another struggle for couples in ministry. Many church leaders make the mistake of defining ourselves by what we do. So trying to be all things to all people, and that's just not realistic. You're going to have to sometimes set time for yourself, and then you got to prioritize. So maybe you may have to take some time to do a hospital visit at a later time on a different date and some of the other things. And then the last one I want to note here is neglect. And I think that that's one of the most painful things that a leader can go through in a marriage is if they neglect the spouse, neglect the family, neglect the children, neglect those responsibilities. Because just because we're working in ministry, we still have all of the other things in life that keep things together. We must do those things. A graceful spouse on page 144. By wisdom, a house is built, and through understanding, it is established. So through knowledge, the rooms are filled with beautiful treasures. And that's in Proverbs 24:3-4. So we want to make sure that we build an understanding in the marriage. Be a great listener in the marriage, okay? And so all of those things will help you as you walk through your marriage and continue to serve in ministry. Struggles of a cradle Christian. And now let me just explain what they're calling a cradle Christian. You have some people, they were introduced to Christ at a very young age. Then you have some, but were fortunate enough, the cradle Christian they're calling, they had a mother and a father who were Christians. They stayed together the whole time that they were young, that they were adults, and they stayed together and they taught them right from wrong. And that means that these children of those cradle Christians, they went in every church service, every worship service, Bible study, Sunday school. But even with that, they want to make sure that if you happen to can identify yourself with that, don't allow yourself to become bored. Don't allow yourself to get hung up with identifying the struggles. Sometimes you can have some intense questions because you could experience worship burnout. If you've been worshiping, you spent all your life in church, but this walk with the Lord is so real. It should remain exciting. It should remain where there's a burning in your spirit. And so we want to make sure that we don't experience this worship burnout, and that we keep this joy that we have of the Lord kindled in our hearts. Help for strugglers. And this is if you're struggling, making sure that, I'm on page 148, that you communicate. This is suggestions here for parents. Communicate with your children, because sometimes they're going to encounter some struggles that they're going through too. Allow them to have contact with non-Christians. Now, you got to be careful with that, and some supervision and some judgment to make sure that they're not doing some things that they should not be doing, but don't isolate them from non-Christian families. They may have a battle with boredom, and we want being bored, and we want to make sure that we keep things excited, create or have some creative methods that you can use within your family that's going to help keep the spiritual walk exciting. Then we as parents have to strive that we are authentic, that we are fighting the good fight, and that our image and everything that we do represents Christ. Suggestions for the Cradle Christians is to accept responsibility for personal growth. So you want to make sure that you're growing, and always don't stop growing. Maybe you know quite a bit because of the length of time that you have been in church, but you want to make sure that you're saved, that you've accepted Christ as your personal Savior, and that you're growing in grace, that you're growing in knowledge, that you turn whatever frustrations you may have into fruit, the fruit of the Spirit, and be grateful despite of what your struggles may be. So let me just, in summary here for this chapter 8, make a couple of points here. And I want to conclude with this by saying our spouses need us. Our children need us. It is time for church leaders to give our household a hand. So we must be there for our families, and we must be there to assist in every way that we can. What we do so often has such a great impact on our families that we are ministering to them just like we are ministering to the church and our church family. So with that, I'm going to conclude chapter 8, which ends on the summary on page 151.